It's the women who still ask me about Joan. Young women who have stumbled upon her story and my part in it. Old women who used to admire her photographs in the gossip columns. Joan the Jewel, a glimmer on some man's arm. Frank Sinatra's, Dick Kruger's, Diamond Glenn's. They want to know who she was. First, I tell them, she was Furlough Fortier's little blonde darling. From the very beginning, she was adored. Then she was Houston's most famous socialite. They won't ever know what it was like to stand in her presence. But I try to paint a picture. There wasn't anything subtle about Joan, a woman born to be looked at. She was slender, but she wasn't a twig. Her dresses clung to her, drew attention to her shapely hips, her strong arms, her famous bosom. Wherever she went, champagne flowed like a fountain. She made people happy. She was beautiful, certainly, but she was more. She was lit from the inside. I stop here. They want to know how she disappeared, but I can't tell them that. I don't say that loving her was my earliest instinct, my first memory. I was her best friend since infancy, her modern-day lady-in-waiting, her sister in all but blood. She disappeared for the first time in 1950, when we were seniors in high school. It didn't take us long to figure out that she had run away to Hollywood to become a star. And if you had stood in a room with her at that time, you would have been sure she'd make it. Because she was everyone's dream in those days. Why not some studio executives? She was gone for a year, trying. And then she returned, and life as we all knew it resumed its orbit, with Joan at the bright, hot center. She disappeared in 1,000 small ways after Hollywood. For a day, for an evening, for a week. Even when she was with me, it felt as if she were vanishing. It was the one constant in our friendship. She would leave, and I would look for her. Until I would not. In the beginning, we were both Joan. Joan 1 and Joan 2, when our nannies dropped us off at River Oaks Elementary School for our first day of kindergarten. Our teacher, a young blonde thing who was teaching rich babes their ABCs and colors until her beau finally proposed, paused as she was going through names. Paused at us, the two Joans, one fair, one dark. One, it seemed evident, even at this young age, destined to be beautiful. The other one dark, with clear, even features. Pretty enough. "What is your middle name?" she asked me, the dark girl. "Cecilia," I replied. I was 5 years old. I knew my middle name, my address, my telephone number. "And you?" she asked, kneeling before Joan, taking her tiny hand and holding it as if a fragile bird. I removed Joan's tanned hand from the teacher's grasp. I didn't like people taking liberties with my friend, even then. I was used to people wanting to touch her. I understood, but I didn't like it. "She doesn't have one," I said, and Joan nodded cheerfully in agreement. She wasn't scared of strangers, or big men with deep voices, or anything really. She'd started swimming lessons the year before and was already diving off the high board at the pool. "I don't." "Well," the teacher said, her hands on her hips. "In my memory, she wears a pale blue dress dotted with delicate flowers, her hair in a modest bob. I could see the lacy edge of her slip when she knelt down to speak to us. It was 1937, and she must have been desperate to be married. Desperate to teach her own children the ABCs, to identify for them the many hues of the bright and colorful world. "Let's say you're Cecilia from now on. No, Cece. Has a nicer ring to it. And you," she smiled at Joan, reassuringly. "Don't worry, you're still Joan." Our mothers weren't friends, but they were friendly. We'd met because our nannies, Idie and Dory, were sisters. They'd wanted jobs close together, in River Oaks, and they'd gotten them only a street apart with Mary Fortier and Reynalda Byrne. Two very different kinds of women.